Hello everyone, I came to this beautiful setting for our Thank God It's Friday video, and I thought the lighting was quite flattering, which following my significant birthday is something I have to think about these days. Anyway, one of the most enduring biblical images for God's relationship with his people is God as the shepherd to his flock. Think of the beautiful words of Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd," or Jesus declaring in John 10 that he is the good shepherd. There is a tenderness to such imagery that I think we particularly need to hear afresh during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Now, our set reading today comes from John 10, but we don't quite get to the point where Jesus shares the Good Shepherd proclamation in verse 11. Instead, we stop at verse 10.
Very truly I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees didn't understand what he was telling them. Therefore Jesus said again, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full."
In this passage, we hear Jesus declare that he is the gate for the sheep. In John's presentation of the 7 I am sayings of Jesus, this is one which probably gets the least attention. Initially, it seems pretty confusing that Jesus says he is both the good shepherd, but also the gate for the sheep. It's perhaps no wonder that John reports that those listening to Jesus did not understand what he was saying. Well, I hope that today I'll be able to explain how it all makes more sense than it appears at first. But before I get there, I need to share a theological aside. Because Jesus uses the word gate as an image for his relationship with his flock and talks about those who enter through him, then many in the church have used this passage over the years in a particular way. A gate implies inclusion and exclusion. Of course, the danger with such language is that it's almost always in the history of the church that is led to theological demarcation and of course separations which often bear very little to do with Jesus whatsoever. Now, I have no time for such thinking at the best of times, but to talk about inclusion or exclusion when we are all struggling through this situation would be, well, to me, frankly, ridiculous. Anyway, that's enough pontificating from me. The reason that the gate and the shepherd imagery makes rather more sense than we might initially sometimes realise is that in the first century, the shepherd himself was the gate for the sheep. Now, I've shared some of this thinking in the circuit before, but I hope it's worth repeating. You see, back in the first century, the shepherd would be with the sheep all the time. During the day they would be out and about, but at night they would return to a sheep pen. The sheep pen would be some stone enclosure. It might have protective brambles across the top, but it would consist of 3 sides with a gate-sized opening on the 4th side. Well, how would the shepherd stop the sheep from wandering off at night, or stop others from helping themselves to the flock? well, he would lie across the gap, even sleep across the gap, to stop the sheep from escaping or from being attacked. This is what I think Jesus has in mind when he declares that he is the gate for the sheep. It is, of course, a wonderful picture of the care and the protection that the risen Christ gives. It is Jesus who wants to save us from going astray. It is Jesus who wants to protect us against anyone or anything that might hurt us. But if we just wade a little deeper into this image, things really start to cause us to catch our breath in more ways than one. Now, I think we all recognise that sheep are pretty stupid and easily scared creatures. I walked past a field of sheep the other day. Now, I guess if you've seen the kids video where I was out walking, you might know I was probably puffing a little bit. But by just walking past this field, the sheep all went doolally and they scarpered off en masse. Well, just imagine how scared they get when they run out of field and they're shepherded through a narrow little gate. Now, obviously, I hope no one is eating right now, but I'm sure we all recognise that at that moment when animals get scared, there is often a biological consequence. When sheep are forced through one narrow gap, there is usually a concentration of, how do we put this delicately, of sheep poo. But just look at what that does to our imagery, that Jesus is the gate for the sheep. It reminds us that surely that it's not just in the midst of life that we find Jesus protecting us, but it's down in the real mess of our lives that Jesus is right alongside us. Hear this today. Yes, life is pretty messy right now, and Jesus is with us in the midst of it. But that's not the only wonderful imagery here. Jesus goes on to say that he has come so that sheep can have life, and life in all its fullness. Well, what does that look like? Well, I guess for a sheep, that means care, protection, pasture, and of course being part of the flock. That to me is what we all need right now. And I just want to echo what has been said to me so many times during the lockdown period. Our buildings may well be closed, but our sheep are going above and beyond. Just on a number of occasions in the last week, I've been told what a difference people have made through kindness, prayers, phone calls and love, especially for those people who are going through some of the messiest times of their lives. Through the risen Christ, the church is not lost like some not so bright sheep, but our people are truly making such a difference through this incredibly challenging time. In the name of Christ, Amen.
The Lord's my shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me lie in pastures green. He leads me by the still waters. His goodness restores my soul. And I will trust in you alone. And I will trust in you alone. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness anoints my head with oil, and my cup it overflows with joy. I feast on his pure delights, and I will trust in you alone, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. And though I walk the darkest path, I will not fear the evil one, for you are with me, and your rod and staff are the comfort I need to know. And I will trust in you alone, and I will trust in you alone, for your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home.
Good Shepherd, within your embrace we are safe and secure. Within your embrace we find comfort and healing. Within your embrace we feel the warmth of family and belonging. Within your embrace we grow and are nurtured as your flock. Within your embrace we find peace, now and always. Amen.